Hello students, in last class we discussed about the sexual reproduction in flowering plants. So what is the part of a flower and which one is essential and which one is non-essential wall. That is, we seen about the calyx, corolla and rhizome and gynoecium part. Today we are going to discuss about pollination. So pollination is the act of transferring pollen grain from the male anther of a flower to the female stigma. The goal of every living organism, including plants, is to create offspring for the next generation. So one of the way that plant can produce offspring is by making seeds. First we discuss about definition of pollination. So pollination is the germination of pollen on the stigma. It is the process of transferring of pollen from the male organ to the female organ of the same or different flower. So the male organ is what? Yes, the anther, and the female organ is pistil. Okay, the staminate and the pistillate flower. Okay, the male organ anther produce the pollen grain containing the male genetic material. Anthers are located at the tip of a stalk known as a stamen. Stigma is the organ containing the female part which receives the pollen grain. This is present at the tip of the female organ called pistil. This will help in sending the sperm cell from the stigma to the ovary, which contains the egg or ovules. Pollination is the process of transferring of pollen from one flower to another. So while fertilization is the process after the successful transfer of pollination, which involves the fusion of male gametes and the female gametes of plant. Both of these are the natural process. Pollination occurs within a flower, that is self-fertilization, or it can ground on different flower on the same or different plant. So nearly 25% of these plants produce two different flowers, that is staminate and pistillate flowers on the same flowers. So by this way there are two categories, they are monoecious and dioecious. So an example of this kind is maize plant, which has staminate and pistillate flower on the same plant. Such kind of species is known as monoecious. It means the mono is the single plant which bears both the sex organ, that is the androecium part and the gynoecium part in the same flower itself. It means, so it called as monoecious. Although the remaining 4% of a species produce staminate and pistillate flowers on separate plant. So there will be like male plant and female plant separately. Okay, so the male flower and female flower also separately. So these are considered to be dioecious, that is two houses, two plants, or comes under pollination. So pollination can be of two types. One is self-pollination and other one is cross-pollination. So here I give an example for dioecious is papaya plant. Okay, so there you can see the male papaya plant and the female papaya tree. So there you can see the male which bears the flower and the female which also bears the flower. Now we study about self-pollination. Self-pollination is the stigma, the female part receives the pollen from the flower of the same plant itself. It is commonly seen in Arabidopsis thaliana, Capsella rubella, Bulbophyllum bicoloratum. So this is also of two types. One is autogamy and other one is chaetonogamy. In autogamy, the pollen is transferred from the same flower to the stigma, while in the chaetonogamy, the pollen gets transferred from one flower to the another of the same flowering plant. Okay, so here you can see the two difference. Okay, two type. It means autogamy. So auto it means self. So from the self flower itself, what happened? From the pollen grain, from the pollen grains are germinated through the pollen tube and reach the base of the carpel, that is ovary. So if it is happen in the same flower, that is autogamy. If it is happen in the same plant, but there will be like in the same plant itself the pollen get transferred from one flower to another flower is called chaetonogamy. Now we discuss about cross-pollination. Cross-pollination. The stigma receives the pollen from the another plant of a same species. So this method is commonly used in increasing the variety of the plant, especially vegetable, fruits and flowering plants. Transfer of pollen from the anther to the stigma by various agents such as insect, butterfly, moth, etc. Other agents are called wind, bird and animals. So the process of pollination was discovered by Christian Sprengel in 18th century. Okay, so in the first topic of our video, you can see the butterfly, which is attract the flowers. So the insects are the insects, butterflies, moth, or will be the what? They are the carryover. Like okay, there will be the carrier like pollen grains. Okay, from one plant to another plant. So the cross pollination is depends upon the agents like insect, butterfly, and other agents like wind, bird, and animals. Pollination. Okay, now we will just recap. The pollen grain need to be transferred to the stigma so that fertilization can take place. The transfer of pollen grain from anther to the stigma is called pollination. So the pollination are of two types. One is self and other one is cross pollination. If the pollen grain from the same flower or the same plant are transferred to the stigma is called self pollination. If pollen grain from a different plant are transferred to stigma is called cross pollination. So these are the important definition of pollination. So cross-pollination is better from the perspective of variations. Many agents help plant and cross-pollinations like insects, animals, air, water, etc. So insects are the main pollinator for the plant kingdom. So this will be the important definitions in the lesson pollination. Now we discussed about fertilization. So in the process of fertilization, there is the union of sperm and egg. It is the mechanism after pollination. So the fusion of the male gametes and the female gametes results in fertilization. Each sperm and egg contain half of the hereditary material which further unite to study or developing a new plant. When the pollen grain come in contact with the stigma, a tiny tube is generated along with the sperm, that is pollen. This tube gets fit into another pipe-like structure called as the style of the female pistil. This tube further expands from the style to the opening of the ovary where the sperms get collected. Okay, here the sperms refer to pollen grain, pollen. When these pollen and egg get fused completely, the egg fertilizes and develop into a plant seed. So here the plant seed refers to a zygote stage. The process of fertilization occurs deep inside the flowering. Double fertilization. So this is the very distinct process pursued by angiosperm plant. So angiosperm plant refers to flowering plant. So in this process, out of two sperms, one sperm fertilizes the egg to form the zygote, while the other sperm combines with the secondary nucleus. So that is a triple fusion to form a triploid nucleus 3N. So this is also called as PEN, that is primary endosperm nucleus. Hence, the fusion of two male gametes with different nuclei of the embryo sac is called as double fertilization. The fertilized egg fused to become the zygote which develops into the embryo. So these are about double fertilization. Fertilization. The fusion of male and the female gamete is called fertilization. The product of fertilization is called zygote. Here the zygote undergoes several rounds of mitosis and develop into an embryo. Here the zygote stage refers to a seed. Subsequently, the embryo develops into new individual. Fertilization in flowering plants. After landing at the stigma, pollen grain absorb moisture and germinate. A pollen grain develops a pollen tube which penetrates through the tissue of the style and reaches the ovule. Pollen nuclei are transferred through the pollen tube. After fertilization, the zygote is formed, that is seed is formed, which finally develops into the embryo. Okay, so what will the changes which occurs in flower after fertilization? So the calyx and corolla either wither and fall off, and so do the stamens also. The ovary turns in the fruits and the embryo turns into the seed. Once the seed becomes mature, fruits dries up so that dispersal of seed can take in place. Structure of seed. Okay, so here the end product will be seed. Okay, if it is a human being, the end product will be the babies. Here seed. In plant it is seed. A seed contains an embryo, some reserve food, and is enclosed by a protective covering called seed coat. The reserve food is stored in the cotyledon. So based on the cotyledon, the plants are monocotyledon and dicotyledon. So these are the classification of cotyledons. The embryo has two pointed parts. So here you can see the two parts are plumule and radicle. Whereas the plumule is the upper part is called plumule, which give rise to the shoot system. The lower part is called radicle, which give rise to the root system. Cotyledons supply food when the embryo needs it during germination. So the seed germination is the process by which the embryo in the seed kickstarts a new life. So these all about the structure of seed. Thank you.